We often imagine a genius as someone who is always confident, successful, and completely in control. But behind the closed doors of a highly developed mind lies a completely different reality. A reality where exceptional intelligence feels less like a gift and more like a heavy burden. If you have ever felt out of place, or wondered why your mind never seems to quiet down, the answers might lie in the unique and hidden ways your brain processes the world around you. Psychology shows that high cognitive ability changes more than just how you solve problems. It completely rewires how you experience every single detail of your daily existence. Let us look at the first hidden signal of a highly complex brain: the desperate need for absolute silence. Many people think that staying alone is a sign of sadness, loneliness, or social awkwardness. But for a highly developed mind, solitude is the only way to recover lost energy. When you enter a room full of people, an average brain processes the main conversations. A high IQ brain, however, processes everything at a much deeper resolution. It analyzes the tone of voice, the hidden emotions, the body language, and the background noise all at once. This constant data collection is incredibly exhausting for the prefrontal cortex. By the end of a short social event, the mind is completely drained of its resources. It does not run away from people because it dislikes them or feels superior. It runs away because it needs a quiet space without any external distractions to reset. In total stillness, the brain finally stops burning energy and begins to restore itself. This brings us to the second signal: a mind that never truly shuts down. Have you ever tried to sleep, but your brain decided to analyze a conversation from 5 years ago? For highly intelligent individuals, this internal dialogue is a permanent condition. There is always a background process running, turning over a problem or building a theory. Psychologists describe this phenomenon as a form of intense mental overexcitability. It is a restless, vibrant internal energy that cannot find a simple off switch. The brain is not broken or malfunctioning when it keeps you awake at night. It is simply doing exactly what it was evolutionarily built to do: connect pieces of data. Neuroscience confirms that a highly intelligent brain has richer connectivity between distant areas. It does not just think faster, it makes thousands of unexpected connections simultaneously. Because of this, true rest becomes a difficult task to achieve. The third hidden signal is something that often confuses people from the outside: emotional depth. There is a common myth that deeply smart people are cold, robotic, and detached from feelings. But scientific research completely contradicts this popular stereotype. People with elevated intelligence actually experience emotions with much greater intensity. They possess a heightened responsiveness to everything around them. A beautiful piece of music, a subtle injustice, or the unexpressed pain of a stranger can affect them deeply. They feel the weight of the world much more acutely than the average person. However, because their logical mind is always trying to protect them, they rarely show this storm. They mask their deep sensitivity under a calm, rational, and quiet exterior. They look distant, but underneath, they are processing an ocean of complex feelings. The fourth signal is a rare trait known as genuine intellectual humility. We often assume that high intelligence creates absolute confidence and pride. Yet, psychology shows that the smartest people are the most comfortable saying, "I don't know." They do not do this to look polite or to play a social game. They do it because they intimately understand the vast complexity of reality. When you look deeply into any subject, you realize how many exceptions and unknowns exist. Average minds often suffer from a cognitive bias where less knowledge creates false confidence. They see the world in simple black and white colors because they lack the data. A complex mind sees 1,000 shades of gray and chooses precision over loud opinions. Therefore, admitting ignorance is not a sign of weakness, but a sign of true clarity. This leads directly to the fifth signal: the quiet struggle to find deep connection. Highly intelligent people rarely speak about this openly because it sounds like arrogance, but they experience a profound form of cognitive isolation in their daily lives. It is not about feeling better than others. It is about a lack of mental stimulation. Ordinary conversations about the weather, gossip, or daily routines leave them completely empty. Their minds secretly crave someone who can follow an idea all the way to the bottom. They look for a partner who is not afraid to ask heavy, existential questions. When they cannot find this depth in their immediate environment, they quietly hold back. They learn to calibrate their words down so they do not make others uncomfortable. As a result, a massive part of who they truly are never enters the room. They become silent observers, watching the world from a safe distance. The sixth signal of a highly complex brain is exceptional cognitive flexibility. Most people connect their beliefs to their personal identity and defend them at all costs. For a highly intelligent person, a belief is simply a working theory based on current data. The moment new, verified evidence appears, they immediately update their mental model. They do not experience changing their mind as a painful blow to their ego. They experience it as a necessary step toward absolute accuracy. From the outside, this honest update process can look like inconsistency or hesitation. People might think they are unreliable because they shifted their long-held position. But in reality, it is the highest form of intellectual honesty and strength. Only a truly strong mind can abandon a comfortable lie when faced with an uncomfortable truth. Принял, партнер. Выдаю вторую финальную половину нашего уникального ролика еще 80 сцена 76 to 155. Сценарий идет строго через пустую строчку на английском, а следом сплошным списком ровно 80 промптов для твоего софта. Держим наш железобетонный стиль, светлый фон, четкий 2D минимализм и проработанное лица стикменов, глаза и рот. Поехали! Сценарий, Part 2, Scene 76 to 155. The seventh hidden signal of a complex mind is a strong preference for silent observation. In social settings, most people feel an urgent need to speak, present themselves, and fill every silence. A highly intelligent individual, however, defaults to watching and listening before they open their mouth. They don't just hear the words being spoken around the table. They read the hidden patterns. They notice who defers to whom, where the real emotional tension lies, and what the conversation is actually about. Before they contribute a single sentence, they gather a massive amount of invisible psychological data. Psychological research confirms that higher general cognitive ability correlates with extreme accuracy in reading social cues. But this deep processing requires more time to absorb everything before a response can be formed. They are not slow thinkers. They are simply running a thorough diagnostic of the entire room. This often creates a frustrating misinterpretation among ordinary people. The quiet, observing person is frequently assumed to have nothing valuable to contribute. In reality, they are usually the only ones with a complete and accurate picture of what is happening. This brings us to the eighth signal, which highly intelligent people often find deeply frustrating: intense procrastination. They easily complete small, boring, daily tasks without any hesitation or delay, but when it comes to projects with the highest personal meaning, they experience a strange, heavy paralysis. The work that could truly showcase their full potential seems to live permanently at the edge of starting. Ordinary people look at this behavior and call it laziness or a lack of discipline. But cognitive psychologists have discovered that this pattern is actually a form of complexity awareness. Before a high IQ brain even begins a significant piece of work, it comprehends the entire scope of excellence. The mind instantly sees every potential flaw, every way the project could fail, and every unrealistic standard. They are not afraid of the work itself. They are terrified of the gap between their perfect vision and reality. The procrastination is not an absence of care, but rather the presence of too much of it. The work that never starts is almost always the work that matters to them the most. The ninth signal is a remarkably low tolerance for repetition and a constant hunger for novelty. A complex brain habituates to its environment much faster than an average mind. This means it requires a continuous stream of new, complex information to maintain a healthy level of engagement. This boredom doesn't just happen during slow business meetings or repetitive physical tasks. At a deep neurological level, the stimulus that satisfied them yesterday feels empty today. Neuroscientific research links high cognitive ability to higher baseline dopamine activity in the prefrontal cortex. When an intellectual challenge disappears from their lives, this vital chemical signal drops sharply. The resulting restlessness is not just a temporary bad mood or ungratefulness. It is a physical, biological response to an environment that is starving their brain of growth. This is why geniuses often pursue multiple hobbies at once, change careers, or feel strangely trapped in comfortable lives. Their mind is simply running a continuous, desperate search for the food it was built to consume. The 10th signal is a persistent, quiet self-doubt that never truly disappears. This one surprises people the most because we expect intelligence to produce absolute certainty. Yet, people with exceptionally high IQs experience an internal uncertainty that others would find hard to believe. This is not a performative display of modesty to gain social points. It is genuine doubt. They constantly question whether their thinking is as reliable as everyone else assumes it to be. This happens because the deeper your understanding of the world, the more clearly you see its limits. The more data you possess, the more accurately you can map out everything you still do not know. Ignorance breeds absolute certainty, while true intelligence breeds careful, measured doubt. They hold their own performance to an impossible standard that they would never apply to anyone else. Any small gap between their ultimate potential and their actual output is treated as a personal failure. Therefore, your deep internal doubt is not a sign of weakness, but a reliable signature of your scale. This brings us to the 11th and final signal that ties all the others together: a quiet sense of not belonging. Highly intelligent people frequently carry a subtle, ongoing awareness of being slightly out of sync. They feel it in their social circles, their workplaces, and sometimes even within their own families. This is not a dramatic form of anger or a personality defect. It is simply the predictable result of experiencing reality at a much higher resolution than others. When your brain processes more details, connects more distant ideas, and craves more depth, a mild sense of displacement becomes completely inevitable in an ordinary world. Living at that high resolution changes what you notice, what you need, and what ordinary life can give you. What is fascinating about all these traits is how consistently the world misreads them. The mind that needs quiet solitude is called antisocial or cold. The mind that never stops thinking is labeled as anxious or unstable. The mind that feels things deeply but hides it under logic is viewed as detached. And the mind that doubts itself is seen as weak or hesitant. But what looks like a collection of quiet difficulties is actually something incredibly beautiful. It is a mind that was built to process more, connect deeper, and go further than the average world. A high intelligence is not about knowing every answer or scoring high numbers on an ordinary test. It is about carrying the full, unfiltered complexity of the world in a quiet, thoughtful way. If these hidden signals described your inner life today, you are not alone in your journey. Your complexity is not a flaw to be fixed. It is simply your true nature.